Leo stared at the time on his phone screen. The numbers flipped to midnight. He sighed, letting the screen go dark. The home office plunged into blackness. Only the glow of his laptop remained, its faint light tracing the tired lines of his face. Another late night. A dull ache throbbed in his neck. The apartment was dead silent. By this time, Mia was probably fast asleep. They'd been married for 3 years, and had been sleeping in separate rooms for 2.5 of them. There was no deep-seated hatred between them, just the slow, quiet erosion of a life lived together until there was nothing left to say. They were like two pieces of wood tossed into a corner, gradually gathering dust, losing their warmth. In the end, he was the one who moved into the spare room, rebranding it as his home office under the guise of not disturbing her sleep. But they both knew the truth. The marriage was on life support. He rubbed his neck and stood up, pulling the office door open as quietly as he could. He was just heading to the kitchen for a glass of water when he noticed the living room light was on. A soft, warm glow filled the space, a stark contrast to the cold, sterile light he remembered. Leo froze, wondering if the overtime was making him hallucinate. What truly made him question his sanity was the sight of Mia, curled up on the couch. She was bundled under a thin fleece blanket. A mindless infomercial played on the TV, the volume turned down low. Her head was nodding, as if she were fighting off sleep, but clutched tightly in her hand was a thermos? At the sound of the door, Mia startled awake, her head snapping up. Her eyes, hazy from sleep, suddenly snapped into focus, brightening the moment she saw him. Leo's heart gave a strange lurch. How long had it been since he'd seen her look at him like that? It felt like back when they first started dating. Every time she saw him, her eyes would light up, and she'd practically launch herself at him. Not long after the wedding, that light had started to fade. For the last year, her eyes held either indifference or annoyance. So what was this? You're done. Mia's voice was a little rough from sleep. It was soft and sounded surprisingly sweet. She scrambled off the couch, her slippers slapping against the floor as she hurried over to him. She held up the thermos like a trophy. Are you hungry? I made that beef stew you like. I've been keeping it warm for you. Leo was completely frozen, his eyes filled with a mixture of alarm and confusion. This was too strange to be a coincidence. His mind raced through 1,000 possibilities. Had she finally decided to file for divorce? Was this the gentle prelude to the final blow? Or was there some new disaster with her family that she needed him to fix? Worse, had she done something she regretted, and this was an attack of conscience? He couldn't be blamed for thinking it. For the past year, their communication had been stripped down to the bare essentials. The utilities are paid. Don't forget my mom's birthday. I won't be home for dinner this weekend. The last time she cooked for him felt like it was in another lifetime. Are you? Leo's mouth felt dry. Are you okay? You're not feeling sick, are you? He instinctively reached out to feel her forehead. Mia slapped his hand away. The gesture wasn't hard, but it was clear. She shot him a look, a playful mix of annoyance and complaint. Another long-lost expression. You're the one who's not okay. I'm fine, she pouted, grabbing his arm and pulling him toward the dining table. Come on, try it. I'll let it simmer for hours. The meat is falling off the bone. Leo felt like a puppet as she pushed him down into a chair. When she opened the thermos, a rich, savory aroma filled the air. It was a smell he loved, one she used to make all the time. His stomach grumbled in honest appreciation. Working this late, he was starving. Mia quickly ladled a bowl for him. The broth was a deep, rich brown, the beef tender, the potatoes and carrots soft. She stuck a spoon in his hand, then propped her chin on her hands, watching him with wide, unblinking eyes. Her whole face screamed, "Tell me I'm amazing." Leo held the spoon, which felt heavier than the $1 million contracts he signed. Was this stew safe to eat? Was it poisoned? He cautiously scooped up a spoonful, blew on it, and brought it to his lips. The taste was incredible, exactly as he remembered. In fact, because it had been so long, it tasted even better. Well, Mia asked eagerly, leaning forward, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. It's good. Leo managed his voice flat. He took another spoonful. He really was hungry. The first bowl was gone in minutes. Mia immediately served him a second, a wide smile on her face as she watched him eat. Slow down, there's plenty more. Her voice was so gentle it could have been liquid honey. As he ate, Leo's mind was in turmoil. What the hell was going on? Had he time traveled? Or was he still asleep in his office, dreaming all of this? 2 bowls of hot stew warmed his body, but the confusion in his mind only grew. So, he put down his bowl, choosing his words carefully. Mia, is there something you want to talk to me about? Mia, who had just picked up a napkin to wipe his mouth, froze. She looked at his guarded, uncomfortable expression. The light in her eyes flickered for a second, then flared up again, this time with a hint of do-or-die determination. She walked around the table and stood beside him. Leo instinctively leaned back. Mia took a deep breath, then suddenly wrapped her arms tightly around his waist, burying her face in his chest. Every muscle in Leo's body went rigid. The spoon clattered from his hand onto the table. Her soft, warm body was pressed against his. The faint, familiar scent of her shampoo drifted up from her hair. None of this felt real. Leo, her voice was muffled against his shirt, laced with a barely perceptible sob. Can we just be good to each other? Please. Leo's brain shut down. Complete system failure. Before, I was wrong, she sniffled, hugging him even tighter. I ignored you. I was always picking fights. I won't do it anymore. It took a full minute for Leo to process her words. Then, he had what he thought was the most rational reaction. He gently pushed her away, placed his hands on her shoulders, and looked at her with extreme seriousness. Mia, be honest with me. What's wrong? Did you get bad lab results back? Is it serious? Don't be scared. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. It was the only explanation he could think of for such a radical personality shift. Mia stared at him, her eyes slowly turning red. Leo's heart sank. Crap, was I right? Is it terminal? A wave of panic washed over him, and his voice softened. It's okay, really. Modern medicine is amazing. Before he could finish, Mia let out a small snort that turned into a laugh. But as she laughed, tears started streaming down her face. She was crying and laughing at the same time, leaving Leo utterly baffled. You're the one with the terminal illness. She punched him lightly on the chest. Can't a girl just have an epiphany and realize her husband is the best guy in the world and she wants to cherish him? Husband? She hadn't called him that in a long, long time. Leo watched her, a mess of tears and laughter. It didn't look like an act. The suspicion in his heart was slowly being replaced by a complex mix of other emotions. Maybe she really had come to her senses, albeit in a way that was so abrupt it gave him whiplash. All right. He grabbed a tissue, awkwardly trying to wipe her tears. You're smudging your makeup. I'm not wearing any. Mia snatched the tissue and scrubbed at her face. She looked up at him, her eyes red, but shining with an astonishing brilliance. Leo, I'm serious. Can we start over? Please. Leo looked at her in silence. Start over? How is that even possible? Could the cold silences, the years of quiet disappointment, the wall between them truly be wiped away? But staring into those hopeful, pleading eyes, he couldn't bring himself to say no. Their marriage might be nothing more than a piece of paper at this point, but he was surprised to find he wasn't ready to let it go. Okay, he heard himself say, his voice a little hoarse. I'll play along for now. She might be back to her old self by morning. But Mia reacted as if he'd just handed her the keys to the kingdom. Her tears turned to a radiant smile, and she grabbed his hand. You promise. No take-backs. Her palm was warm and soft. Leo felt a slight urge to pull his hand away, but she held it fast. It's late. Go take a hot bath and relax. I already drew one for you. She pushed him towards the bathroom, and I laid out your pajamas. They're hanging on the back of the door. Leo felt like he was in a daze as he was herded into the bathroom. The frosted glass door clicked shut behind him. He stared at the bewildered man in the mirror, then at the steaming tub beside him, and the clean pajamas hanging on the door. She'd even squeezed out the body wash for him. The service was impeccable. He stripped and sank into the tub. The warm water enveloped him, and he let out a long, deep sigh. He could hear her tidying up the dining room outside. Leo closed his eyes, his thoughts a chaotic mess. The Mia he saw tonight was a complete stranger. She was so nice it was terrifying. Had she really just had a change of heart? Or was this part of some bigger, more elaborate scheme? He mulled it over as he bathed. When he came out in his pajamas, Mia had already cleaned the kitchen and was standing in the middle of the living room, looking at him nervously. I made the bed, she said, gesturing toward the master bedroom. You'll sleep in here tonight, right? Leo paused, towel drying his hair. Sleep in their room? They had been sleeping apart for so long. He was almost used to being alone. The thought of sharing a bed again. He saw the blush on her cheeks and the way her eyes darted away, and he suddenly understood. So this was the endgame. Was this her way of trying to repair things? Or did she have other needs she was too embarrassed to voice? Leo cleared his throat, trying to sound casual. Sure. Either way, it wasn't like he had anything to lose. Mia's face lit up like she'd just won the lottery. She ran over and pulled open the bedroom door for him. The bedroom had changed, too. The old cool-toned sheets had been replaced with a warm, cream-colored duvet. A small aromatherapy diffuser on the nightstand emitted a faint, calming scent. Even the curtains were new, a heavier, blackout style. Had she given the entire apartment a makeover? Leo walked to the bed and slipped under the covers. The mattress felt new, softer than he remembered. Mia took her time getting ready. When she finally emerged half an hour later, she was wearing a conservative set of cotton pajamas. She crept to the other side of the bed, lifted a corner of the duvet, and carefully slid in, trying not to touch him. The king-size bed was huge. You could have fit another person between them. The air was filled with the faint scent from the diffuser and the clean, damp smell of her freshly washed hair. It was so quiet he could hear their breathing. Leo lay there, stiff as a board, not moving a muscle. He felt Mia turn on her side, facing him. Then a warm hand reached out, tentatively resting on his waist. Leo's breath hitched. The woman behind him, emboldened, inched closer, resting her cheek against his back. He could feel the warmth of her breath through the thin fabric of his pajamas. "Leo," she whispered, her voice soft. "Good night." Leo didn't answer. He kept his eyes closed, feeling the warmth and softness pressed against his back. The suspicion and alarm that had been churning inside him all night felt like a frog in slowly warming water, gradually going numb. Whatever he thought, let's just see where this goes. No matter why she'd changed, at least. This wasn't unpleasant. He was exhausted. As soon as he allowed himself to relax, sleepiness washed over him like a tidal wave. Just as he was about to drift off, he thought he heard a faint, suppressed sob from behind him, and a muffled whisper. "So good. To hold you again." Leo was instantly wide awake. The sound of crying was gone, replaced by the slow, even breathing of someone deep in sleep. But a storm was raging in his mind. That sentence, what did it mean? To hold you again. A ridiculous, impossible thought forced its way into his head. He stared at the dark ceiling, his mind reeling. He didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Leo went to the office with dark circles under his eyes. His productivity all morning was abysmal. He stared at his computer screen, but his mind kept replaying Mia's bizarre behavior from the night before. And that whispered, dreamlike phrase. "So good. To hold you again." The relief and gratitude in her tone hadn't sounded fake. His assistant, Jessica, knocked and came in with some files. Seeing his distracted state, she ventured, "Mr. Anderson, are you all right? You look a little pale." "I'm fine," Leo said, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Just didn't sleep well." That was an understatement. He hadn't slept at all. For the second half of the night, he'd been listening intently for any other sounds from her. But Mia had slept soundly, her breathing even, without another word. When he woke up, her side of the bed was empty. On the dining table was a plate of warm oatmeal pancakes and a fresh pot of coffee. Next to it was a sticky note with a crooked, smiley face drawn on it. It read, "Go get him, honey." Winky face, Leo stared at the emoticon, a chill running down his spine. This was absolutely not the Mia he knew. The Mia he knew was composed, almost cold. She would never use this kind of cutesy tone, and she certainly wouldn't draw smiley faces. She would leave a curt, verbal notification. "Breakfast is on the table." Leo took a deep breath and picked up the intercom. "Jessica, could you get Dr. Peterson on the line for me? I'd like to schedule a therapy session." He needed a professional opinion. Was his wife cracking under pressure? Or was he the one losing his mind, having hallucinations? He had an important client meeting in the afternoon. Leo forced himself to focus. By the time he saw the client out, it was 4 o'clock. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Mia. "What do you want for dinner tonight?" "I just went grocery shopping. I'm going to cook up a storm." Image. The attached photo showed a shopping bag overflowing with fresh-looking ingredients. Leo stared at the screen, his thumb hovering over the keyboard, unsure how to reply. In the past, she never asked what he wanted to eat. She cooked whatever she felt like, informed him when it was done, and he could take it or leave it. After a long pause, he typed whatever. The 3 dots indicating she was typing appeared instantly. "You can't just say whatever. Come on, barbecue ribs or pot roast? And do you want the salmon pan-seared or baked? What about veggies?" Leo. The phone felt hot in his hand. "Barbecue ribs, I guess." He picked one at random. "Roger that. Mission accepted." Leo's eye twitched at the emoji. He put his phone away and spoke to his assistant. "Cancel my dinner plans for tonight. I'm eating at home." His assistant looked surprised but nodded. "Of course, Mr. Anderson." Leo left work early. The entire drive home, he was mentally preparing himself. No matter what he saw, he had to remain calm. He slid the key into the lock and turned it. The moment he opened the door, the rich aroma of home cooking washed over him, mixed with the low hum of the range hood. "You're home." Mia poked her head out of the kitchen, an apron tied around her waist. There was a smudge of flour on her cheek, and her eyes crinkled into a smile. "It's almost ready. Go wash up." She disappeared back into the kitchen, and he could hear the clatter of a spatula against a pan. Leo stood in the entryway, feeling a little dazed. The scene was so domestic, so much like a real home. He changed his shoes and walked slowly to the dining room. The table was already laden with several dishes. The barbecue ribs were glistening, the pan-seared salmon was still steaming, and there were a couple of vegetable sides, all his favorites. A bowl of rice was piled high. He didn't even eat this well on Thanksgiving. Mia came out last with a bowl of soup, untying her apron. "Go on, try it," she said, watching him expectantly. Leo sat down and picked up his fork, taking a bite of a rib. It was perfectly balanced, sweet, tangy, and so tender it fell off the bone. He nodded. "It's good." Mia beamed, sitting down and putting more food on his plate. "If you like it, eat more. You've lost weight recently. No matter how busy you are, you have to eat properly." She chattered on, serving him more food and soup, but barely ate anything herself. She was too busy watching him. Leo felt increasingly uncomfortable under her intense gaze. He cleared his throat. "You should eat too." "All right." Mia finally picked up her own fork and began to eat in small, delicate bites, though her eyes still darted toward him every few seconds. The meal was an ordeal for Leo. She was too attentive, so attentive it was unnerving. After dinner, he instinctively started clearing the plates. Mia immediately stopped him. "I'll get it. You go watch TV, or go back to your office and work. I'll do the dishes." Leo. In the past, the question of who did the dishes had been the cause of more than one Cold War between them. He watched her efficiently stack the plates and carry them to the kitchen. She turned on the faucet, humming an out-of-tune song. She seemed to be in an incredibly good mood. Leo stood in the kitchen doorway, watching her busy back. Finally, he couldn't hold it in any longer. "Mia, we need to talk." The sound of running water stopped. Mia turned off the faucet and turned to face him, wiping her wet hands on her apron. Her smile didn't falter. "Talk about what?" "You." Leo searched for the right words. "Have you been through something recently? Or is there something on your mind? You could just tell me. You don't have to do all this." "Do all what?" Mia tilted her head, a picture of innocence. "This." Leo gestured vaguely. "You become a little too helpful." Mia burst out laughing. "Is being nice to you a bad thing? Or would you prefer I go back to giving you the cold shoulder every day?" "Well, no." Leo was at a loss for words. "I'm just not used to it," he said honestly. "You've changed so much." The smile on Mia's face faded slightly. She looked down at her hands, soaking in the soapy water. "People change," she said softly. "I just figured some things out." "Figure what out?" "That." She looked up, her gaze deep and intense, her eyes seeming to well up. "That you're the most important thing. Everything else is just noise." The statement was so random it made no sense to Leo. But seeing the tears shimmering in her eyes, his suspicion was once again pushed down. Maybe she really had gone through something he didn't know about and had a genuine change of heart. "Okay," he said, his tone softening. "Leave the dishes. I'll do them later." "Nope." Mia immediately refused, pushing him out of the kitchen. "I said I'd do them. Go relax." Leo was forcibly ejected from the kitchen. He stood in the living room, listening to the sounds of running water and her humming, his feelings a tangled mess. Later that evening, Leo was in his home office answering emails when Mia came in with a plate of sliced fruit, placing it quietly beside him. "Don't work too hard," she said, but didn't leave right away. Instead, she moved behind him and began gently massaging his temples. Her fingertips were cool, the pressure just right. Leo tensed. "I learned this online. It's supposed to help with fatigue," she whispered, her breath brushing against his ear. "Does it feel good?" "Yeah." Leo managed a grunt. It actually felt amazing. He closed his eyes, savoring this long-lost, or perhaps never-before-experienced, tenderness. After a few minutes, she stopped. But then her arms wrapped around his neck from behind, and she rested her chin on his shoulder. "Leo," she murmured, "can we be like this every day from now on?" Leo opened his eyes. The light from the monitor reflected a wavering resolve on his face. "Every day like this?" It didn't sound so bad. He reached up and gently patted her arm. "Okay, let's just see how long this lasts," he thought. He was almost certain this was just a phase, that she'd revert back to her old self in a few days. But one day, 2 days, a week passed. Not only did Mia not revert, she doubled down. She made different, elaborate meals for breakfast and dinner every day. The apartment was spotless. His shirts were ironed to a perfect crisp, and his socks were paired and neatly folded. She stopped giving him the cold shoulder, stopped complaining. Every day, she greeted him with a smile, fussed over him, and was incredibly considerate. She even started checking in on him, Not in an annoying, interrogative way, but with a cloying sweetness. Honey, are you at the office yet? Don't forget your coffee. What did you have for lunch? Send me a pic. No cheating. It's raining. Did you bring an umbrella? Should I bring you one? Leo went from being wary and uncomfortable to numb, and finally, he kind of got used to it. The feeling of being on someone's mind wasn't so bad, but the seed of doubt in his heart never fully disappeared. He never did go to his therapy appointment. He was a little afraid to. What if the therapist told him his wife really had lost her mind? On Friday night, Leo had a work dinner he couldn't get out of and had a bit too much to drink. The driver dropped him off at his building. He stumbled upstairs, fumbling with his keys, unable to get the key in the lock. The door opened from the inside. Mia stood there in her pajamas. She frowned at his flushed face, but didn't say anything, just reached out to steady him. Why did you drink so much? Couldn't help it. Davis was pouring them heavy. Leo slurred, practically collapsing onto her. Mia struggled to support him to the couch and took off his shoes. Then she went to the kitchen to make him some honey water. Leo lay sprawled on the couch, his stomach churning. He managed to drag himself to the bathroom and threw up, emerging pale and shaky. Mia was standing at the door with the honey water, a complicated expression on her face. Leo took the glass and drank it all in one go. The sweetness helped quell the nausea. Thanks. He handed the glass back to her. Mia didn't take it. She just looked at him and suddenly asked, Leo, do you hate me? Leo froze, the question sobering him up instantly. What? The way I used to be. The way I treated you. She looked down, her voice barely a whisper. You must have hated me, right? Leo was silent for a moment. Hate? Not really. It was more like disappointment, exhaustion, and a kind of helpless numbness. It's in the past, he said, his tone neutral. Mia looked up, her eyes shining as if with unshed tears. So, do you like it now? Us like this? Leo looked at her cautious, vulnerable expression, and something inside him softened. He nodded. I do. It was the truth. No one would dislike being cared for, being treated with tenderness. Mia broke into a smile, as if a great weight had been lifted, or as if she'd just been given the greatest prize. She stepped forward, wrapped her arms around his waist, and buried her face in his chest. Good. I'm glad you like it. She held on tightly, as if she were afraid he would disappear. Leo hesitated for a moment, then raised his arms and gently hugged her back. Her body was soft and warm, carrying a faint, pleasant scent. He suddenly thought, maybe living like this wouldn't be so bad after all. Whatever the reason for her change, the result was good. He bent his head, about to place a kiss on her hair, when his phone rang, shattering the moment. It was his phone. Mia's body stiffened, and she slowly let go of him. Leo pulled out his phone and glanced at the caller ID. His brow furrowed slightly. The screen flashed with a name, Chloe Sullivan, a director from a partner company. She made a pass at him once, which he had unequivocally rejected. Since then, their interactions had been strictly professional. He glanced instinctively at Mia. She was looking down, fiddling with the tie of her pajama bottoms, pretending not to notice. But Leo could feel the warmth in the room seem to evaporate. The phone kept ringing. He hesitated, wondering if he should answer. Mia suddenly looked up, her expression unreadable, her voice calm. You should get that. It might be important. Without another word, she turned and went into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. Leo looked at the closed bedroom door, then back at his still-ringing phone. A prickling sensation ran up his scalp. The tender, intimate atmosphere from moments ago had vanished completely. He could almost smell gunpowder. Leo stared at the bedroom door for a few seconds. The phone in his hand continued its relentless ringing. Taking a deep breath, he walked out onto the balcony and answered. Hello. Leo, I hope I'm not disturbing you. Chloe Sullivan's cheerful voice came through the line. I had a few new ideas about the Q3 proposal, and I was hoping to run them by you. I was wondering if you might have some time tomorrow. I'm sorry, Chloe, but tomorrow's the weekend. I don't handle work matters during my personal time. Leo cut her off, his tone strictly business. If you have something to discuss, please contact my assistant on Monday to schedule a meeting. There was a brief silence on the other end, as if she hadn't expected such a blunt dismissal. Oh, I see. Well then, I won't keep you. Her voice had lost its warmth. She hung up quickly. Leo lowered the phone, rubbing his temples. The effects of the alcohol hadn't fully worn off, and his head was starting to pound. He went to the bedroom door and tried the handle. Locked. Leo. Just moments ago, she had been holding him so tightly, and now this, all because he answered a call from another woman? Her jealousy seemed to come out of nowhere. He and Chloe had nothing going on. He knocked on the door. Mia? Open up. Silence. Mia? He knocked again. Open the door. Let me explain. After a moment, he heard some shuffling from inside. The lock clicked open. Mia stood behind the door, her face a blank mask. Her eyes were a little red, as if she'd been crying. Explain what? She asked, her voice muffled. I didn't say anything. Leo stepped into the room and closed the door. That was Chloe Sullivan from work. We were talking about a project, Mia said, walking over to the bed and sitting down, fiddling with her fingers. Talking about work at this hour and calling you home. The sourness in her tone could pickle cucumbers. Leo felt a strange urge to laugh, mixed with a sense of helplessness. He went and sat down beside her. She called me. What was I supposed to do? I barely said 2 words before I hung up. Mia's head snapped up, her eyes wide. Then why did you hesitate? If I hadn't said anything, you would have just kept talking, wouldn't you? Leo was speechless. He had hesitated, but that was because he was afraid she would misunderstand. And she misunderstood anyway. He couldn't find the right words. See, you hesitated. Mia latched onto it like a prosecutor with key evidence, her eyes getting redder. Leo, just because I've changed, just because you think I'm easygoing now, does that mean you can? Can what? Leo interrupted, half exasperated, half amused. Mia, can you be reasonable for a second? It's a purely professional relationship. You never used to care about this stuff. The words were out before he could stop them. He regretted them instantly. The color drained from Mia's face. She stared at him, and he could see something shatter in her eyes. It was a look of profound sadness and self-mockery. That's right. I never used to care. She murmured, her voice as light as a feather. So, I guess I deserved it. The last few words were almost inaudible. A knot tightened in Leo's chest. He instinctively reached for her hand. That's not what I meant. But Mia snatched her hand away and stood up, turning her back to him. Her shoulders were trembling slightly. Leo panicked. He'd never seen this side of Mia before. The old Mia was either cold or sharp, but never weak. She would never look like this, as if she were carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, so fragile she might break. Mia. He stood up and gently wrapped his arms around her from behind. Don't be like this. I said the wrong thing. Her body was stiff in his arms. I barely know her. We've only worked together a few times, he explained in a low voice, amazed at his own patience in placating her. From now on, I won't answer her calls. Or you can answer them for me. How about that? Mia didn't speak, but her body relaxed slightly. Leo turned her around to face him and saw that her face was streaked with tears. He was shocked. He clumsily wiped her tears away. Why are you crying? Is it really that big of a deal? It is. Mia choked out, hitting his chest. You don't understand anything. And he didn't. How could one insignificant phone call trigger such an emotional meltdown? All he could do was hold her and gently pat her back like comforting a child. Okay, don't cry. I was wrong. I won't answer any calls from women. Won't reply to any texts, all right. Mia buried her face in his chest. You promise? She mumbled. I promise, Leo vowed. The woman in his arms finally quieted down, her sobs subsiding into small hitches of breath. After a while, she looked up, her eyes and nose red. She looked pitiful. Leo, she said softly, her voice thick with congestion. You can't lie to me. You can't leave me again. There was again. That strange phrasing. Leo's confusion deepened, but looking at her state, he could only go along with it. I won't lie to you, and I won't leave you. Mia seemed to relax at his words, hugging him again, tightly. She was incredibly clingy for the rest of the night, holding onto the corner of his shirt, even in her sleep. Leo watched her sleeping face, the puzzle in his mind growing more complex. Her bizarre behavior, her cryptic words, the intense possessiveness and insecurity. It didn't feel like a whim. It felt more like she had experienced some great trauma or loss. Loss. The thought startled him. He tried to recall any recent events. Other than their failing marriage, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. His parents were healthy. Her mother had some minor issues, but was fine. Work was stable. So what was wrong with her? A more absurd idea popped into his head. Could she really be, like in those novels, reborn? Leo almost laughed at the thought. Impossible. That was ridiculous. He shook his head, pushing the outlandish idea away. He pulled the woman in his arms closer and closed his eyes. The weekend passed, and Mia's mood seemed to return to normal. She was back to being the gentle, considerate, perfect wife. But Leo could sense something different in the way she looked at him now. A kind of carefulness, as if handling something precious she had once lost, mixed with a deep-seated anxiety. She needed to know where he was and what he was doing at least once an hour. If he was slow to reply to a text, a phone call would follow. Leo found it a bit much, but he couldn't bring himself to say anything harsh when he saw the anxiety in her eyes. On Monday morning, he finished his meeting and returned to his office to find over a dozen missed calls on his phone, all from Mia. His iMessage was flooded. "Honey, are you there yet? Busy. Why aren't you answering? Image, look at the cookies I made. Aren't they cute? Are you okay? Did something happen? I'm calling your assistant." The last message was from 5 minutes ago. Leo felt his scalp tingle. He immediately called her back. She answered on the first ring. "Leo, are you okay?" Mia's voice was on the verge of tears, frantic with worry. "I'm fine. I was in a meeting. My phone was on silent," Leo explained quickly. "What's wrong?" There was a pause, followed by a long, audible sigh of relief. "Nothing. It's fine." Her voice was still trembling. "I just thought you." "Thought what?" She didn't finish, but Leo had a pretty good guess. He thought about her strange reaction on Friday night, and her extreme anxiety now. She seemed to be terrified of something. Terrified that something would happen to him, or terrified of losing him. The realization left a strange feeling in his chest. He softened his voice. "I'm fine, don't worry. From now on, I'll let you know before I go into a meeting, okay?" "Okay." Mia's voice was calmer now. "Well, you get back to work. I won't bother you." After hanging up, Leo sat in his chair, lost in thought. He buzzed his assistant. "Jessica, come in for a moment." She entered quickly. "Yes, Mr. Anderson, that appointment with Dr. Peterson you scheduled for me, please cancel it," Leo said. Jessica blinked. "Okay, and one more thing." Leo tapped his fingers on the desk. "I need you to look into someone for me." "Who?" "Chloe Sullivan." Leo paused. "Find out if she's had any recent contact with my wife, or if there have been any unusual activities on her part." He had to rule out any external factors. Though confused, Jessica nodded. "Understood. I'll get right on it." That afternoon, Jessica brought him the preliminary findings. Chloe Sullivan had a clean background, a strong work ethic, and a normal private life. There had been no contact whatsoever between her and Mia recently. Leo stared at the report, his brow furrowed. It wasn't an external factor. The problem was with Mia herself. He remembered her words. "You're the most important thing. You can't leave me again. So good to hold you again." A clear, yet even more unbelievable idea began to form in his mind. He grabbed his car keys and stood up, leaving the office. He had to go home. Right now. Immediately. He had a crazy theory to verify. Leo drove like a madman. He blew through a red light without even realizing it. His mind was a chaotic storm. Once the idea took root, it grew uncontrollably. What if Mia really had been reborn? It would explain everything. Her sudden transformation. Her intense, almost obsessive love and anxiety. Her cryptic statements. What had she experienced? Had she lost him? Or had something even worse happened between them? Leo didn't dare to think too deeply, feeling an invisible hand squeezing his heart, making it hard to breathe. He pulled into their building's parking garage and practically ran to the elevator. He fumbled with the key, finally getting it into the lock on the third try. He pushed the door open. The apartment was quiet. "Mia," he called out, his voice hoarse. No answer. Not in the living room. Not in the kitchen. The bedroom. The bedroom door was closed. Leo's heart leaped into his throat. He strode to the bedroom and turned the handle. Mia was sitting on the floor by the bed, her back to the door. Her shoulders were shaking slightly, as if she were crying. In front of her was an open shoebox, filled with small, miscellaneous items. Leo recognized that box. It was where Mia kept her memories. He'd seen it once by accident. It held things from her school days, old letters, photos, trinkets. She rarely ever opened it. Why today? The sound of the door opening startled her. She hastily slammed the lid on the box and shoved it under the bed, frantically wiping her tears. What are you doing home?" She turned around, tear tracks still on her face, forcing a smile. "It's not quitting time yet, is it?" Leo didn't say a word. He walked over and knelt in front of her, looking into her eyes. They were red and swollen. She had clearly been crying for a while. "What's wrong?" His voice was gentle as he reached out to wipe a tear from her cheek. "Why are you crying?" Mia avoided his gaze, looking down. "Nothing. I was just looking at some old things. Got a little sentimental." "What were you looking at?" Leo pressed. He had a gut feeling that the contents of that box were the key. Mia shook her head, refusing to say. "Just old junk. Nothing to see." She started to get up, trying to leave. "Are you hungry? I can make you something." Leo grabbed her wrist, stopping her. "Mia," he said, his tone serious. "We need to talk. For real." Mia's body tensed. She slowly turned back, her eyes flickering nervously. "Talk? About what?" "About what's really been going on with you," Leo said, pulling her to sit on the edge of the bed. He held her hands tightly, not letting her escape. "About why you're like a completely different person. Why you keep saying such strange things? Why you're so terrified of losing me? The color drained from Mia's face, and her lips began to tremble. I'm not. Yes, you are, Leo interrupted, his gaze sharp. Look me in the eye and tell me what happened. Forced to meet his gaze, Mia looked up. In his deep-set eyes, she saw concern, confusion, and a hint of something she couldn't decipher. She opened her mouth to speak, but a sob escaped instead. She choked, unable to continue. Leo's heart ached, but he knew he couldn't back down now. He had to know. He raised a hand and gently stroked her hair, his voice softening, coaxing. Tell me, please. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. At that, Mia's defenses completely crumbled. She threw herself into his arms and burst into tears, crying with a heart-wrenching intensity, as if trying to purge all her pain and fear. Leo held her, gently patting her back, letting her cry it all out. He didn't know how long it was before her sobs subsided into broken hitches of breath. Mia pulled back from his embrace, her eyes swollen like peaches. She looked at him, her expression a mix of desperation and terror, as if she were afraid he'd think she was insane. Leo. Her voice was raw, tinged with a last-ditch hopelessness. What if I told you? I've died once before. Would you believe me? Leo's heart seized. He had suspected, but hearing the words out loud was still a shock. He kept his composure, his face unreadable. Died once? What do you mean? I was reborn, Mia said, closing her eyes as fresh tears welled up. I came back to time, before I had completely lost you. Leo took a deep, steadying breath, trying to process this information. Then, in the other world, what happened? He heard his own voice, impossibly calm. Mia's body began to tremble violently, as if reliving something horrific. We got divorced. Her voice was shattered. Because of me, because I was so selfish and cold. You were tired of it. You let me go. Leo listened in silence. That sounded exactly like the path they had been on. Not long after the divorce, you were in a car accident. Mia could barely breathe as she spoke, clutching his shirt. It was bad. I went to the hospital to see you. You didn't recognize anyone. You were just lying there. So thin, so fragile. Her tears soaked his shirt. I regretted it. I regretted everything. She repeated, her words a jumble of pain. I stayed with you every day. I talked to you, hoping you would wake up, that you would look at me just one more time. But. She couldn't finish, dissolving into sobs. But Leo understood. In that other world, he had probably died. That's why she was so haunted. Why she was so desperate, so terrified of losing him. That's why she'd whispered so good, to hold you again. That's why even an insignificant phone call could send her into a panic. It all made sense. Leo's heart felt like it was steeping in warm water, aching and full. He couldn't imagine the pain and despair she must have gone through alone, or the state of mind she was in when she came back, trying so desperately to fix things, to protect what she had. He pulled her into a fierce hug, holding her as if he could merge her into his very bones. I'm sorry, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I'm so sorry you had to go through that alone. Mia froze, looking up at him with tear-filled eyes. You believe me? Yes, Leo nodded, gently kissing her tears away. I believe you. It sounded insane, but her pain was real. Her transformation was real. The deep, weathered despair in her eyes was real. He had no choice but to believe. Mia stared into his calm, earnest eyes. A wave of immense surprise and relief washed over her. She hugged him again and began to cry, but this time it wasn't a cry of despair. It was a cry of release, of catharsis. She had finally told him, and he hadn't called her crazy. He believed her. After what felt like an eternity, her emotions began to settle. Curled up in his arms, she told him everything about her past life, the story punctuated by sniffles. She told him how they had drifted apart, how their coldness led to divorce. She told him about his accident, about her crushing regret as she watched over him, only to lose him in the end. And she told him about the moment she woke up, reborn, and saw him sleeping safely beside her. The sheer, unadulterated joy and relief of that moment. Leo listened quietly, a tempest raging in his heart. He never imagined that after the quiet end of their marriage lay such a tragic conclusion. And this woman in his arms had been carrying that memory all by herself, fighting to rewrite their fate. His heart filled with a complex mix of emotions, sympathy, regret, and an overwhelming desire to protect her. It's all in the past now, he said, stroking her hair, his voice low and firm. None of that is going to happen again. Mia looked up, her expression fragile, but full of hope. Really? Can we really change things? Of course, Leo said, kissing her forehead, his tone leaving no room for doubt. I'm here. I won't let anything bad happen. He paused, looking at her. And even if something does, I won't leave you to face it alone. Tears streamed down Mia's face again, but this time they were tears of joy. She nodded vigorously. Okay. They held each other, quietly absorbing the warmth and the steady beat of each other's hearts. After a long while, Mia suddenly remembered something. She sat up, wiping her eyes sheepishly. So, that Chloe Sullivan, she muttered. In my past life, I think she kept trying to pursue you. Leo blinked, then chuckled. So that's why you had such a big reaction the other night? Mia blushed, fidgeting. You silly goose, Leo said, gently tapping her nose. I have no interest in her. Not then, and certainly not now. He cupped her face, looking her directly in the eyes. Mia Evans, listen to me. I don't care what happened in a past life. In this one, I only have you. I only want you. Mia's face turned a deep shade of crimson, her eyes shining. She bit her lip, a smile breaking through. It was a radiant, slightly shy smile, like the sun after a storm. Okay, she nodded emphatically, throwing her arms around his neck and holding on tight. I only want you to. With the truth out in the open, the final barrier between them dissolved. The atmosphere grew warm and intimate. Leo lowered his head, kissing her hair, her forehead, the bridge of her nose, until he finally captured her slightly parted, pliant lips. It was a slow, tender kiss, filled with the preciousness of a second chance and the weight of a new promise. Mia responded eagerly, her arms wrapped around his neck. The air grew thick with unspoken feelings. Leo's hand slipped under the hem of her shirt, his fingers tracing patterns on her smooth skin. In the heat of the moment, Mia whispered, Honey, that box under the bed. It has the love letters you wrote to me back in college. Leo froze, a blush creeping up his neck. That was ancient history. Ahem. We should probably just throw that stuff out, he said, trying to salvage his dignity. No way, Mia said, hugging him tighter, her eyes crinkling. I'm keeping them. When we're old and gray, we can sit in our rocking chairs and read them over and over. Leo pictured the scene, feeling both embarrassed and inexplicably warm. He leaned in and kissed her again, murmuring against her lips. Whatever you want. The night was still young. Their new life had only just begun. Ever since she'd come clean about the whole rebirth thing, Mia felt like she was living a honeypot. Everything was sweet from the inside out. The massive weight that had been crushing her was finally gone. She no longer had to harbor her secret alone, terrified that Leo would think she was crazy. And now, not only did he believe her, he was practically beside himself with sympathy to the point where he wanted to keep her on a leash and take her everywhere. Honestly, the feeling was better than an ice-cold lemonade on a sweltering August day. The only thing was, he was a little too clingy. It was like Leo had flipped some kind of switch. He'd gone from a stoic, emotionally reserved workaholic to a full-blown stage 5 clinger. Honey, which tie looks better? Leo asked early one morning, holding 2 ties as he came up behind Mia in the kitchen. He wrapped his arms around her waist as she was frying eggs, resting his chin on her shoulder. Mia's hand twitched, nearly ruining the egg. The gray one. It matches your suit, she said, turning her head to give him a quick peck. Now get out of here, it's smoky. Okay, Leo grumbled, shuffling away. Not 2 minutes later, he was back, phone in hand. Sweetheart, look at this purse. Isn't it nice? Should I buy it for you? Mia glanced at the price tag and nearly choked. No, it's hideous, she said firmly. If you buy that, I swear I will use it as a grocery bag. Leo dejectedly put his phone away. But all the other guys buy their wives' purses. Mia couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. She slid the fried egg onto a plate and handed it to him. Leo, Mr. Anderson, CEO, can you please act normal? You're scaring me. Leo raised an eyebrow, taking the plate and leaning close to her ear. What's not normal about spoiling my own wife? Is that illegal now? His warm breath tickled her ear. Mia's face flushed, and she pushed him away. It's criminally sappy. Now eat your breakfast and get to work. After sending a very affectionate Leo on his way, Mia looked at her smiling reflection in the mirror and patted her cheeks. It was good. Life was good. This was so good. Humming a tune, she started cleaning up. Her phone chimed. It was a text from Leo. Made it to the office. Image. The picture was of a corner of his desk. Mia smiled and texted back, good boy. Less than half an hour later, another one came through. Going into a meeting now. Just checking in, my queen. It was followed by a sticker of a dog begging for a head pat. Mia collapsed onto the couch, howling with laughter. This man, at being reborn, somehow unlocked his inner cornball. At noon, Mia made his favorite barbecue short ribs and garlic shrimp, packed them in a thermal container, and took an Uber to his office. The receptionist recognized her now and waved her right through with a smile. In the outer office, Leo's assistant, Jessica, saw her and stood up, her smile a little strained. "Mrs. Anderson, you're here." "Yep, bringing him some lunch," Mia said, holding up the container. "Is he busy?" "Mr. Anderson is—" Jessica's eyes darted nervously. "He's with a client." Before she could finish, a familiar female voice drifted from the office, laced with laughter. "Leo, you're hilarious." The smile on Mia's face tightened. It was Chloe Sullivan. Jessica watched her anxiously. Mia took a deep breath, reminding herself to stay calm. The past was the past. In this life, Leo had made his position clear. She had to trust him. She smiled at Jessica. "It's fine. I'll wait." She sat down in the waiting area. Just as she set the container down, the office door opened. Leo and Chloe walked out. Chloe, dressed in a sharp power suit and flawless makeup, was smiling as she spoke to Leo. Leo's expression was neutral as he nodded. The moment he looked up and saw Mia, he froze. Then his eyes lit up, and he strode over to her. "What are you doing here?" The surprise and delight in his voice were unmistakable. "Brought you lunch," Mia said, standing up and gesturing with the container. Her eyes met Chloe's, and she offered a polite smile. "Ms. Sullivan, what a coincidence." Chloe's smile faltered for a second before she recovered. "Mrs. Anderson, bringing your husband a home-cooked meal? How sweet. It is, isn't it?" Mia said, her own smile a picture of innocence as she reached up to adjust Leo's perfectly straight tie. "He has a sensitive stomach. I worry when he eats out." Leo cooperatively dipped his head, a small smile playing on his lips. Chloe watched the easy intimacy between them, a flicker of something dark in her eyes, but she quickly masked it. "Well, I won't keep you too. Leo, we'll move forward with the changes we discussed. I'll be back tomorrow." "That won't be necessary," Leo said, his tone suddenly cool. "Our VP of Operations, Mr. Daniels, will be taking over as your point of contact. I'm no longer overseeing this project directly." Chloe was stunned. "Leo, I have another meeting. Jessica will see you out." Leo dismissed her, then smoothly took the container from Mia's hand and wrapped an arm around her waist. "Come on, let's eat. I'm starving." He completely ignored the stunned, furious woman behind them. Mia let him lead her into his office. The moment the door closed, she poked him in the chest. "Well, Mr. Anderson, that was cold. Reassigning projects just like that." Leo caught her finger and brought it to his lips for a kiss, raising an eyebrow. "Weren't you the one who told me to stay away from her?" "When did I?" Mia started, then remembered. She might have said something like that, but it was in the heat of the moment. "Wow, the great Leo Anderson is such an obedient husband," she teased. "Of course," Leo nodded solemnly. "My wife's word is law." He opened the container, looking at the delicious-smelling food. He let out a contented sigh. "My wife is the best." Watching him eat with such gusto, any lingering annoyance Mia felt about seeing Chloe vanished completely. She propped her chin on her hand, watching him. "Did you really hand off the project? Will it cause problems?" "Not all," Leo said, feeding her a piece of rib. "It wasn't a major project to begin with. No need for my direct involvement. Better this way. Keeps a certain someone from stewing in a vat of jealousy all day." Mia chewed the rib, mumbling, "Who's jealous?" "I don't know." Leo leaned in close, licking a speck of sauce from the corner of her mouth. He chuckled. "But it smells pretty sour in here." Mia's face flushed as she pushed him away. "We're eating. Be serious." "Why do I need to be serious with my own wife?" Leo retorted, completely unrepentant as he fed her shrimp. After they finished lunch and a fair bit of cuddling, Mia got ready to head home. As she was leaving, Leo held on to her, not letting go. "Don't cook tonight. Let's go out." "What? A date?" Leo said, kissing her hair. "To make up for all the dates we didn't go on in our last life." A warmth spread through Mia's chest, but she feigned annoyance. "We're an old married couple who goes on dates." "We do," Leo said firmly. "From now on, every week." Fine, fine. A date it is," Mia agreed with a laugh, heading home in high spirits. That evening, Leo came home on time to pick her up. He'd changed into more casual clothes and was driving his sports car instead of the sedan. Mia had also dressed up a little, wearing a dress she hadn't touched in years. They went to a little Italian place in the village they used to frequent when they were dating. The food wasn't 5-star, but the ambience was perfect, just like he used to. Leo cut her steak for her and pushed the plate over. The restaurant was filled with soft music and dim, romantic lighting. Mia watched the man across from her, so carefully tending to her, and her heart melted. "Hey, Leo," she said suddenly, "do you think, since I was reborn, could other people be, too?" Leo paused, looking up at her. Why do you ask? Just curious, Mia said, poking at the broccoli on her plate. What if one of her business rivals was also reborn and came back to screw you over? Leo chuckled. You think this is a sci-fi novel? It's not like everyone gets a do-over. He put down his silverware and looked at her seriously. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter. I can handle anything. As long as I have you, I'm good. Such a sweet talker. Mia sniffed, but she was beaming. After dinner, they walked along the Brooklyn Bridge Park path. The evening breeze was cool and pleasant. Mia held Leo's hand, swinging it back and forth. Leo, HM, you know, sometimes I'm really grateful for this second chance, she said softly, looking at the glittering lights of the Manhattan skyline. The ending of our last life was terrible, but if it weren't for all that pain, I might never have realized what a jerk I was, or how much you meant to me. Leo squeezed her hand. It's over now. I know, Mia nodded. She stopped walking and turned to face him, her eyes serious. So in this life, I'm going to love you twice as hard. I'm going to make up for everything I owed you. Leo looked at her, her hair blowing in the wind, her eyes shining. His heart felt full to bursting. He leaned down and kissed her. You don't have to make anything up, he murmured against her lips. Just love me in this life. That's all I need. Okay. Mia nodded vigorously, deepening the kiss. They were lost in a moment, until a whistle from some passing teenagers made them break apart, embarrassed. Mia buried her flushed face in Leo's chest. He chuckled, holding her tight. Just then his phone vibrated. Leo frowned and pulled it out. It was a text from an unknown number. Leo, it's Chloe Sullivan. I know today was a bit off, but I still have a few details about the proposal I'd like to discuss with you privately. I was wondering if you might be free tomorrow. Leo's expression turned to ice. He immediately deleted the message and blocked the number. Who was that? Mia asked, looking up. Spam, Leo said without missing a beat, putting his phone away. He wrapped his arm around her. Come on, let's go home. Okay, Mia said, not suspecting a thing as she happily walked with him. The streetlights stretched their shadows long. Two figures intertwined as one. This time, they would never let go. Life became ridiculously sweet, like they'd fallen into a vat of honey and couldn't get out. Leo had fully transitioned from workaholic mode to doting husband mode. He came home on time every day and turned down every non-essential work dinner. The ones he couldn't avoid, he reported to Mia in advance, complete with photo evidence from the table to prove his innocence. Mia teased him, Mr. Anderson, you're whole cold. Aloof CO persona has completely crumbled. Leo, busy peeling an orange for her, just raised an eyebrow. What do I need that for? Can't eat it, and it sure as hell can't make my wife happy. Mia popped a segment into her mouth, the sweetness making her eyes crinkle. The sweetness in her heart was even more intense. It seemed the PTSD from her rebirth was slowly being healed by their syrupy sweet daily life. She no longer felt the constant urge to check up on him in a panic. Though, sometimes she would still wake up in the middle of the night and reach out just to feel him lying there beside her before she could truly relax and fall back asleep. Every time she moved, Leo would instinctively pull her closer, pressing a drowsy kiss to her forehead and murmuring, I'm here, before they both drifted off again. One Saturday, they were curled up on the couch watching an old movie when Mia poked him in the ribs. Hey, do you think our story counts as one of those married for convenience, then fall in love tropes? Leo, who was massaging her legs, didn't even look up. I guess. What do you mean, you guess? Mia was unsatisfied with his casual reply. It's clearly a second chance romance, mixed with a rekindled love and a marriage of convenience story. We got all the tropes. Leo chuckled, his hands applying the perfect amount of pressure. Okay, whatever you say. Mia hummed contentedly, like a cat being petted. On screen, the hero and heroine were finally together after countless trials. The music swelled dramatically. Watching it, Mia suddenly sighed. What's wrong? Leo asked. It's just. Mia snuggled deeper into his arms. It all feels a little unreal, like a dream. What if one day I wake up and find out none of this was real? Don't be ridiculous, Leo interrupted, gently pinching her cheek. Feel that. It's real. He sat up, turned to face her. Mia Evans, listen to me. What's real is real. And even if this is a dream, I'll stay in it with you for the rest of our lives. Mia looked into his earnest eyes, and the little cloud of sentimental sadness that had gathered over her vanished instantly. She laughed and threw her arms around him, kissing him. Leo, why are you so perfect? You just realizing that now? He caught her, raising an eyebrow. Who was it that used to give me the silent treatment for days on end? Hey, we don't talk about ancient history. Mia covered his mouth, her face turning red. Leo pulled her hand away and kissed her fingertips. Fine, but you have to make it up to me. How? What do you think? His eyes darkened as he leaned in and kissed her. The movie played on, unwatched. The atmosphere was heating up. Things were about to get serious when the doorbell rang. They both froze. Leo frowned, clearly annoyed. Who could that be? Go see, Mia said, pushing him. Leo reluctantly got up and opened the door. A delivery guy stood there, holding an enormous bouquet of red roses. Mr. Anderson, this is for you. Please sign here. Leo, confused, signed for them and brought the bouquet inside. Did you order these? Mia was just as baffled. No. Leo found a small card tucked into the flowers. He read it, and his expression turned strange. What's it say? Mia asked, peering over his shoulder. The card read, "Thank you for your support, Mr. Anderson. Looking forward to our next collaboration." There was no signature, but you didn't have to be a genius to figure out who sent them. The smile on Mia's face vanished. Well, your business partners are quite generous, aren't they? Sending such a huge bouquet. The air suddenly smelled faintly of vinegar. Leo immediately thrust the flowers into her arms. If you like them, keep them. If not, toss them. Mia held the bouquet and sniffed. It would be a shame to throw them away. It was such a thoughtful gesture. She emphasized the word thoughtful. Leo looked at her pouty, jealous face and found it incredibly endearing. He couldn't resist teasing her. You're right. They smell nice. We could put them in a living room. Mia glared at him. You wouldn't dare. She marched toward the balcony with the flowers. I'm going to see if I can dry these out and use the petals for a foot soak. Leo followed her and wrapped his arms around her from behind, laughing softly. Someone's a little green-eyed monster. Mia jabbed him with her elbow. It's your fault for attracting bees to the honeypot. I swear, I'm innocent, Leo pleaded. I deleted her number from my contacts. I blocked her. What more can I do? Mia knew it wasn't his fault, but it still bothered her. In her last life, Chloe had constantly been looking for ways to get close to Leo. Even though he'd ignored her, the memory was irritating. Well, you're not to engage with her, she said, turning to poke him in the chest. In any way, shape, or form. Yes, ma'am, Leo said, capturing her hand and kissing it. From now on, any documents that come from her company, I'll have my assistant send them right back. Mia was finally satisfied, though she felt a little sheepish. Well, you don't have to do that. Business is business. Nope, Leo said seriously. If it makes my wife unhappy, it's off the table. Mia couldn't help but smile. You tyrant, what of it? Leo said, scooping her up and carrying her toward the bedroom. And now, the tyrant is going to show you why kings sometimes skip their morning duties. Hey, the movie's not over. Forget the movie. We have more important business to attend to. In the end, the roses were placed in a vase in the most conspicuous spot in the living room. As Mia put it, they were trophies of war to be admired. Leo just shook his head, amused, and let her be. A few more peaceful days passed. One evening, Leo was in the shower, his phone charging on the nightstand. The screen suddenly lit up with a text message preview. Leo, it's Chloe. I know this is probably inappropriate, but The rest of the message was cut off. Mia's heart sank. Again? A new number? She stared at the phone as if it were a ticking bomb. The familiar, gut-wrenching anxiety from her past life began to stir. She knew she shouldn't doubt Leo. He had been doing everything right. But the fear of having lost him once was carved into her soul. The smallest trigger could bring it all back. She took a deep breath, telling herself to calm down. When Leo came out of the bathroom, toweling his hair dry, he saw Mia sitting on the edge of the bed, a serious expression on her face. His phone was in her hand. His heart skipped a beat. What's wrong? Mia handed him the phone, trying to keep her voice even. You got a text. Leo took the phone, and his brow furrowed as he saw the message. He opened it in front of her, blocked and deleted the new number, then tossed the phone aside. I don't know how she got my new number, he said, his voice urgent, explanatory. I know it's not your fault, Mia interrupted, her voice low. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a fragile vulnerability. Leo, am I being too sensitive? Is it annoying? Leo felt a sharp pang in his chest. He walked over and knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. No, not at all. He looked at her, his gaze intense. It's my fault for not handling it better, for not making you feel secure. Mia shook her head. It's not you, it's me. It's us, Leo corrected her, pulling her gently into his arms. And we'll solve it together, okay? He stroked her hair, his voice a low murmur. Tell you what, tomorrow, I'll get a brand new number. I'll only give it to you and a few essential work contacts. I won't answer any calls from unknown numbers. How's that sound? Leaning against his chest, smelling the fresh scent of his body wash, Mia felt the anxiety in her heart begin to subside. Okay, she whispered, and Leo pulled back to look her in the eye. From now on, if something is bothering you, you tell me, just like you did now. Don't keep it bottled up inside, all right? Mia nodded. Leo kissed her forehead. Trust me, Mia Evans. In this life, I'm stuck on you. Nobody's prying you away. A smile finally broke through on Mia's face, her eyes curving into crescents. You better hold on tight, then. You know it, Leo said, lifting her up and spinning her around. Sealed with a kiss. No returns, no exchanges. They fell onto the bed, laughing, the small shadow of the incident completely gone. Trust was like a plant. It needed time and care to grow. And they had all the time in the world. As fall deepened, Leo insisted they both go for a full physical. It was the first thing he'd wanted to do after her revelation. He was especially insistent on a thorough checkup for Mia. Only when the results came back showing she was in perfect health did he finally relax. Coming out of the hospital, the weather was beautiful, the sun warm on their skin. Leo held Mia's hand as they walked. They passed a baby store, and Mia paused, her eyes softening as she looked at the tiny, adorable clothes in the window. Leo noticed her gaze, and an idea sparked in his mind. In their last life, their relationship had been too cold to even consider children. And then, it was too late. He squeezed her hand. You like them? Mia snapped back to the present and smiled. They're just cute. She paused, then said quietly, you know, in my past life, after, I really wanted to have a baby with you. That way, even if he was gone, she would have had a part of him left. A wave of sorrow washed over Leo. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Well, in this life, how about we aim for a whole soccer team? Mia playfully punched him. What do you think I am, a pig? How about just one, then? Leo looked down at her, his eyes tender. A girl, as beautiful as you. Mia blushed, a sweet warmth spreading through her. What if she's a brooder like you? That's fine too, Leo smiled. I'll protect you both. They walked on laughing. The sun cast their long shadows on the pavement, intertwined, inseparable. Their good life was just getting started. At the end of the year, Leo took Mia to a corporate gala. In the past, Mia had always avoided these events, finding them boring and tedious. But now things were different. She had to support her man, and she had to ward off any stray butterflies. She chose an elegant, sexy gown and had her makeup done professionally. When she walked in on Leo's arm, she turned quite a few heads. Leo looked dashing in a custom-tailored suit, exuding power and confidence. But when he looked at the woman beside him, the tenderness in his eyes was impossible to hide. They were a stunning couple. Many people came over to say hello, subtly trying to figure out who this mysterious Mrs. Anderson was. To each one, Leo proudly introduced her. My wife, Mia. The pride in his voice was palpable. Mia maintained a graceful smile, her heart soaring. Look at him. He's mine. Just as she was reveling in the moment, she caught sight of a familiar figure. Chloe Sullivan was there, talking to a small group. She glanced their way, her expression complicated, before quickly looking away. She didn't approach them. Mia snorted internally. Good. You know your place. She tightened her grip on Leo's arm and looked up at him with a sweet smile. Honey, I'd love one of those little cakes. Of course, Leo nodded immediately. I'll get it for you. He went to the dessert table himself, carefully asking her which flavor she wanted. Many women in the room watched them with envious eyes. Mia basked in the attention, her vanity thoroughly satisfied. Halfway through the event, Mia went to the restroom to touch up her makeup. When she came out, she found Chloe waiting for her in the hallway. Mia's smile faded slightly. She prepared to walk past her. Mrs. Anderson, Chloe called out. Mia stopped and turned, a polite smile fixed on her face. Ms. Sullivan, can I help you? Chloe looked at her, her eyes filled with a mix of resentment and curiosity. I'm just curious. What did you do to make Leo change so much? The cold, robotic workaholic had somehow become so human and so utterly devoted to his wife. It was unbelievable. Mia smiled, her tone light. No secret method. Maybe I'm just really lovable. Chloe was speechless. Mia took a step closer, her voice soft but firm. Ms. Sullivan, some things in life just aren't meant for you. Don't waste your energy chasing them. It's bad for your health. Without waiting for a reply, she turned and walked gracefully away, leaving Chloe with an ugly expression on her face. Back in the ballroom, Leo was looking for her with a small plate. He handed her the cake. What took you so long? Ran into a stray cat. Had a little chat, Mia said, taking a bite of cake. She closed her eyes. Delicious. Leo raised an eyebrow. A stray cat. Yep, Mia nodded, feeding him a bite. But I chased it away. Leo guessed what she meant, but didn't press. He just ruffled her hair. Good job. On the way home, Mia was tired and dozed on Leo's shoulder. He held her, watching the city lights flash by. Mia, he said suddenly. Hmm? She murmured sleepily. Let's have a wedding. Mia was instantly awake. She sat up straight. What? When they got married, they had just gone to the courthouse. They were both busy, and it hadn't seemed necessary. Later, as their relationship cooled, neither of them had the heart for it. Let's have a real one, Leo said, looking at her, his eyes soft in the dim light of the car. The kind with a white dress. A proper wedding. Mia's heart started beating faster. Why all of a sudden? I want to give you the best of everything, Leo said, squeezing her hand. Whatever other people have, my wife deserves it too. I owe you from our last life. I'm making it all up to you in this one. Mia felt her eyes sting. She threw herself into his arms. You big spender. When it comes to you, I'll spend it all, Leo chuckled, holding her tight. The wedding was set for the following spring. It was a beautiful, intimate ceremony. Mia, in a stunning white gown, walked down a flower-strewn aisle on Leo's arm. The pews were filled with their friends and family. She looked at the handsome profile of the man beside her and felt like she was in a dream. The officiant recited the classic vows. Do you, Leo, take Mia to be your wife, to have and to hold, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do you part? Leo turned to face her, his eyes deep and unwavering. I do. He paused, then added, not just in this life, in the next one, and the one after that, I do. Tears instantly streamed down Mia's face. When it was her turn, she answered through her sobs, her voice clear and strong. I do. I do too. No matter how many times I have to do this over, I will always choose you. I will never let you go. After they exchanged rings, Leo lifted her veil and kissed her. The chapel erupted in applause. The spring sun streamed through the stained glass windows, casting a warm, colorful glow on them. Everything was perfect. A year later, their daughter was born. They named her Summer. She looked like Mia, but had Leo's quiet, observant personality. They were a happy family of three. Mia's rebirth became their own private, sweet joke. Whenever they had a small argument, all Mia had to do was pout and say, "You didn't dare talk to me like that in my last life," and Leo would immediately surrender. Life still had its challenges and frustrations, but as long as they held each other's hands tightly, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. On another ordinary evening, Summer was asleep, and Leo and Mia were curled up on the couch, watching home videos. On the screen, a wobbly toddler Summer was taking her first steps, babbling mama and dada. Mia leaned against Leo, laughing. He bent his head and kissed her hair. What's so funny? It's just. Mia looked up at him. The corners of her eyes had faint smile lines now, but her gaze was as bright as ever. It's just so good. Leo knew what she meant. He tightened his arms around her, resting his chin on the top of her head. Yeah, he said, his voice a low, contented rumble. It really is. Outside, the moonlight was soft and the years were kind. This time, they had caught hold of happiness, and they were never letting go.